Hello everyone and welcome to Kim's Cozy Corner. We are going to work on green stalks today. It's been a while since we talked about what's going on with my green stalks, and so I wanted to take a few minutes today to kind of talk through where we are. We're going to clean up a few of these green stalks because they've been gone for a long time. And we are going to do just a teeny little bit of harvesting while we're at it. So we will call this our October green stalk update. So we're going to start on the patio here. And for those who don't know, I have 11 green stalks throughout my garden, and they have been very productive all year long. Some of these green stalks I've set and reset a couple of times throughout the year, and some of them were set once, and that's just where they've been all year long. But now that we're in October, it's time for me to start shutting down some of these green stalks and putting them away for the winter, while at the same time we're going to clean some of these up because they're going to stay in place all winter long. And I just figured I'll bring you along with me like I always do. This first green stalk here that we're going to do a little bit of work on at the same time, I just want to share with you how it's doing, is a green stalk full of different types of lettuce. I believe this is either the second or third time that I've planted and removed and planted. And so we have different types of lettuce growing in here. In the bottom of this green stalk, I did have a tomato plant in one of the bottom pockets that has completely just broken away because I didn't take time to support it properly. And so it broke. We're going to pull that one out. There are no tomatoes on it, and it's October. There are not going to be any tomatoes on it this late in the season. So I had a stake holding it up and a little clip, but I don't know if it was a windstorm or rain or what, or did it get bumped? Not sure what happened because I've been traveling quite a bit, but we are going to get this one out of here. And I'm just cutting it at the base, and I'm going to leave the stem in here for now. This tomato plant actually has a ton of blooms on it. I don't even know if I can get those around for you to see all those blooms. Now, I don't think this is going to make it, but I am going to go ahead and provide additional support to this tomato plant. And we're having beautiful weather right now. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. But we're going to add that additional support so that we don't worry about it breaking off. And there are a few tomatoes on here. This is a German Kiss, which is, I consider it more like a cherry tomato, if not like a salad tomato. Here's a few on the vine right here. They're going to get a little bit larger than that, but not too much. But this plant is happy. Let's go ahead and cut off some of the leaves at the bottom here that aren't happy to see if we can give this plant a chance to ripen up some of those tomatoes. We have been harvesting the lettuce off of this tower here. So you can see some of the places where they're cut back. That's where my mother harvested the lettuce for us to enjoy inside. There are a few places that are wilted and dead, so let's clean that up since we're here. And this is the primary tower we've been harvesting off of for lettuce for some time now. But I do have more lettuce ready to go. This is not all there is to offer. That's it for this tower. Let's move to the next tower. This tower here has been here all season long. It was one of the first towers that I put out. I removed some of this is kale, and I had mustard greens in the top. And we harvested and we froze and we canned and we cleaned it out and we added more and we did the same thing. I have a year's supply easily of kale and mustard greens. And so we're going to call this tower quits for the end of the year. So we are going to remove everything from this tower. I do have one onion up here. This is a white Spanish onion, or a Spanish white, whichever way it's supposed to go, I don't know. And I was just playing around to see if I could get onions to grow in my tower. Now this is a little smaller than a softball, but bigger than a baseball. and it grew perfectly up there. So we will take that in the house and we will enjoy that. And the rest of this, we're going to just clean up. Now, I don't waste anything in my tower. The soil that's in this tower will be reused. We almost have added enough soil to my neighbor's garden. My neighbor's garden has horrible soil. They've been putting like truly topsoil in their garden on top of clay soil. So the condition of the soil is not the best. And so we have been taking all of our empty containers for the year and taking them over there and adding that to the beds so that we can have better soil quality next year. Now, in all of my raised beds and my pots and everything that I have in my garden, I use a potting soil. So it's a potting soil mix. I do not use raised bed soil. I don't use topsoil. I only use potting soil, one, because I prefer the consistency and the drainage and just how light and fluffy it is. And I have a lot of containers. And so every year I take those containers to top off my beds to improve the overall condition of my beds. And my beds are in great shape. So now we're doing that same process with my neighbor. And then at the beginning of the season, if I need to bring in new soil, that new soil goes into my pots, not my raised beds. And I've been doing that process actually for years now. And I think that's how we got to such great soil in my beds. And so this soil in this particular GreenStalk will be going to my neighbors. We work together to make sure that my neighbor's garden is as productive as mine. They are enjoying fresh vegetables all season long, and they don't have to deal with the hard part of, growing the seeds into transplants and trying to figure out the layout of the garden. I'm doing all of that for them. They just need to tell me what they want to eat, and that's what I grow for them. And the good thing is when I'm out of town, not only do they water and weed their garden, but they'll help take care of mine for me as well. So we work together at this. If I was just going to put this soil in my compost bed, which we do have a compost pile, then I wouldn't worry so much about pulling these out. I would just leave them in there and let them compost in the bed, in the compost bed. But since we're going to put these actually in a bed that's actually still producing over there for me, I'm going to go ahead and get some of these thicker roots out. The stems are very thick and they take a while to break down. So we're going to go ahead and remove these. The mustard green's roots are not that thick and the stems are not that thick, but my kale stems are. So let me stop talking and let me get this out. So now we are going to just take it apart. Clean it up and put it away. But we first need to get this soil into my neighbor's bed. This next tower is a tower full of herbs, many different kinds of herbs, which I can still harvest because these are cool weather crops for the most part. And so I will continue harvesting these and drying these for the next probably month or so. In the top of this tower though, I do have a tomato plant that's pretty much dead, but there's 2 tomatoes on it, so we'll leave it there for now. I have strawberries in the top that has runners. They're going crazy. For the ones that I haven't planted, I'm going to go ahead and cut these away, because one of the things you can do with your runners is just poke them into another pocket, and now you got strawberries in the next pocket. So let's see if we're going to do that with some of these. I'm going to get rid of this kale right here, like this right here, runner, and we're going to poke this right in this pocket right here, and it'll take root. And I will have a strawberry plant in this pocket. All right, let's cut back the dead leaves. I might give these strawberries one more watering. or one more fertilizing before the end of the season. And these strawberries will come back next year as long as I don't let them dry out too much. Some of the herbs in this tower will also come back next year. Like this runner in this particular pocket has already planted itself here in a pocket that had, I believe this is parsley in it. It planted itself in that pocket. And then it went down and planted itself somewhere in this bottom pocket. So I am going to leave it planted there. We'll see if it can make it till the next year. We'll get the trees out because trees grow everywhere in my garden. But my herbs are doing really well. This is rosemary, and this here is oregano. I have some sage right here. Some more sage, oregano all throughout. And this right here, this is chives. I didn't even plant chives this year. They came back from last year. And there's a strawberry that has rooted in this pocket with the chives, and I'm just going to leave that as well. We'll see which one becomes dominant, which one survives next year. I'm going to have to clean this patio up. I got a pretty big mess out here. And we are going to take this strawberry from down below here, and we are going to plant it where I just pulled that tomato plant out. Now let's see if we can root this one. And I'm going to put both of them in there because they got nice long roots on them. Now last year, my strawberries, I let them dry out too much over the winter months. And I lost a few. I mean, just to be honest, I lost quite a few. Maybe throughout the whole garden of what I had, maybe about half or a little less than half. So I did purchase strawberries this year, and I planted even more. So I doubled what I had from last year. And so hopefully these will come back this year. I'll pay attention throughout the winter and make sure they don't dry completely out. They will come back every year, but you can't let them dry so far out that, you know, they can't survive. So they completely dried out last year. So I will make sure if we go a very long time without water, I will still water them while they're hibernating for the next year. Now this one looks so much better already. And let's check my pockets. I have something growing in every pocket. Oh, I missed a pocket. Here's a pocket right here. There's two types of strawberries. There's June-bearing strawberries and what we call ever-bearing strawberries. And I grow ever-bearing. June-bearing strawberries give you a huge amount, like almost all at one time, and it's usually around the month of June. Ever-bearing will give you a smaller harvest, but it'll be a harvest all season long. And that's what I have growing everywhere in my garden. And if I take care of them, I'll never have to buy another strawberry again. So let's see how I do. Now I have something in every pocket. Now this planter is pretty much done. I won't be adding anything to it. I have lettuce that has gone to seed. This is either my second or third planting of lettuce that I have here. I am going to leave the roots in on these. My lettuce kind of bolted on me. It was just so hot, it couldn't handle the heat. So it bolted on me while I was gone. I planted more. Only about half of it, if that came up, because it, you know, all of those almost 100-degree days, if not 100-degree days, it just couldn't handle it. In this pocket here, this is one of the very first tomato plants that I planted. This is a micro dwarf tomato. I think it's a tiny Tim. The pocket's so full I can't even see it anymore. I planted this back in probably the end of April, maybe. If not earlier, I don't remember exactly. It acted like it was going to die out for a while, but now there are so many tomatoes on here. I mean, there's several dozen tomatoes on here. So we will see if we can get these to grow. I can always put a frost cover on it to hold out as long as I can outside. And then I can move it into the indoor grow space when the weather is just really too cool for it. In the very bottom, I do have carrots growing in the very bottom, and this is the second planting of carrots as well. But this tower is mostly empty, and I'm not going to replace it because we're at the end of the season. We'll see which pockets we take indoors, and then everything else, we will just tear it down, save the soil for next year, and then put it away. Let's move on to the next tower. We are at tower number 5, and this is what I call my spider tower at the moment. Tower number 5 is infested with spiders. I welcome the spiders into my garden to help me out with all of the unwanted pests, but I like to keep my distance. So that I don't have a case of me fleeing the scene, I'm going to be very careful with how I clean out this tower. There were some leftover peppers. I have no idea, this was mislabeled, but it's a pepper. We will enjoy it. In the top 3 tiers, I have lettuce, I have micro dwarf tomatoes, which the plan is to take those indoors. And in the very, very, very top, I have radishes. But we're going to remove all of the peppers. At this point, I'm just going to empty the pockets, and then we'll come back and break them down at a later date. I just knew my neighbor needed that one tower to finish out that garden. Everything else, we will just have to break it down at a later date, because I have 11 towers, and I'm going to try to get to as many of them as possible. I already know I won't get to the tower over at my neighbor's, but I should be able to get to the other 10 towers. So this is tower number 5, and we'll be able to finish the other 5 that are in my garden. I had some flowers. Here's one right here, and here's another flower right here that were just growing in the walkway. So I transplanted them into this tower so at least we could enjoy them. And that's all I'm going to do down on these levels at this point in time. I'm going to let the spiders keep playing. But you can see here I have all lettuce in here. I believe this is butter crunch. Yep, that's butter crunch lettuce. I have some red lettuce called Merlot that the spider is living in right now. Up here, I have one collard green that's not supposed to be there, so we'll get that out. I have micro dwarf tomatoes. All of these are micro dwarf tomatoes that I planted, and they're starting to really take off. And the plan is to take these inside. So we know this tier will go inside. If the tier itself doesn't go inside, I will transplant these out into a different tier. And then in the very top, we have different types of radish. That's tower number 5. We will move over to tower number 6. I think I forgot to turn my camera on for the last tower that I just did. And if I did, I'm sorry, we missed tower number 6. We are now on tower number 7, which is a strawberry tower, 100% strawberries. And I am going to cut all of the suckers out of this tower. I'm calling them suckers, but runners is what I mean to say. Cutting all the runners out. I've already taken quite a few of the runners and filled pockets weeks ago, so I could keep the pockets nice and full for the season. This is the tower I let dry out last year, and I had to replace quite a few of the strawberry plants. But they were so productive this year that I was able to freeze a few strawberries. So I do have strawberries in the freezer, not many, but some. Enough so that I didn't have to purchase any in the grocery store. I've purchased other fruit, but strawberry is just not one of them. So just like on the patio, if I find a pocket with nothing in it, I'm going to put one of these runners in it, and hopefully it's not too late in the season for it to take hold, so that it'll fill that pocket for next year. I will also give this tower a little bit of fertilizer before it goes to sleep for the winter. I think that's good enough. We will come back and work on it a little more later. Let's go work on some of the other containers. This is tower number 8. This is my, call it dry pea or field pea, cream zipper pea. This tower has all of my southern drying peas on it. And I planted these late. This is a second planting for this tower. And I do have blooms and I do have small peas on this tower. And I have a frost cover that I'm going to put on here to see if I can extend the harvesting time of this so we can get some peas off of it. Here's one of those beautiful peas right here doing what it's supposed to do. And in the very top, I have basil. And so this was my, I don't know, second, third, fourth planting of basil. I can't keep up with it. And I've harvested off of here. I do have some flowers, so we're going to cut that back so we can try to keep that harvest coming on these. Once your basil starts flowering, it changes the taste. So you want to keep those flowers off so you can keep harvesting as many as possible. And there we go. These peas are doing what they're supposed to do. Let's move over to the next tower. So we are now at my pepper tower, and I am in the shade, so I don't know how much of this you're going to really see, but it's October, and this is my sweet pepper tower, and it's still producing. I have some purple baby bells right here, purple baby bells that are producing. So let's grab this one up. This is a red Marconi. Now I do have some other red bell peppers on here. Here's one right here, but I am going to leave this one on here because it's 88 degrees today and it's supposed to be in the 80s the rest of the week. So I am going to leave this on here and give it a little more time to turn red, because once they're red, they're even sweeter. But you can pick them green as well. But I want a red pepper if I can get it. I have more green horn-shaped peppers here. They are looking a little weepy, but we're going to leave them. I might even give them some fertilizer today. I want to keep them going as long as I can. This is a Joe Parker. It's a thicker wall, but it's a bell pepper as well. Or excuse me, it's a sweet pepper as well, Joe Parker. And this pepper, let me get it picked here. This is a Jimmy Nardello, and it's a frying pepper, but it's a more thin wall pepper, and it's sweet as well. There's nothing hot on this tower, and that's intentional, because if I get too many hot peppers mixed in with the sweet peppers, my family gets confused, and then it's my fault when they bite into a hot pepper. So I got to keep the family happy. And when I say there's still more on here, I mean, can you see this? These are more horn-shaped peppers. These are, I think, Thunderbolts. Now that's my favorite pepper right here. I've had Thunderbolts get every bit, 8 inches long, if not longer. Thick wall, sweet, delicious. More bells back in there, more Jimmies. There's another Joe Parker. Now, with these peppers that I'm picking, I'm not going to let them go to waste. If we're not going to use them for fresh eating, then I will freeze them, and I can take them right out the freezer, throw them into a stir fry, throw them into a soup or whatever dish I'm trying to make, and they come out perfectly. Now, these are all Joe Parkers. I mean, there's a dozen or more on here. Now, the question is, do they have time to turn red? That's what we're going for. Now, I have had to cut some of the peppers out. Not a lot, but some. I have paprika right here that's still trying to bloom. Peppers blooming. That just makes no sense. Bell peppers everywhere. More Joe Parkers everywhere. This Cubanelle is completely done. My Cubanelle didn't do very well this year. It didn't do well at all. Did I get some? Yes. But they usually all started dying back before they were ready for me to harvest. I do have shishitos still coming in at the top here. These are shishitos, and they have done amazing all year long. No complaints with the shishitos. I feel like the Joe Parker's got a late start. This is a paprika plant that has nothing on it and is drying out, so we will just take that one out. Now this paprika still have a few on them. These are paprika peppers right here. I already have quite a few paprika peppers inside that I dehydrated, and I'm going to make a paprika powder out of them. I haven't turned it into powder yet, but they are dehydrated. This is my best year yet of peppers in my GreenStalk. Now I fertilize these peppers every 10 to 14 days like clockwork most of the time. And I made sure that I was very consistent with the watering most of the time. And it has produced these wonderful peppers. And I started all of these peppers from seeds indoors in my indoor grow space. So I didn't buy any transplants. Everything in my garden, I started from seeds myself, with the exception of some strawberries. Now let's move over to this last tower that has run its full course, and we're going to go ahead and put it to bed. Now this is the last tower I'm going to do today. So this is tower number 10. Tower 11 is over at the neighbors, and we're not going to work on that one today. But for this last tower today, I think it's time to say goodbye to the tomato tower, or the tomato GreenStalk planter. Everything has pretty much died back. All of the tomatoes that are left have already turned red on the vine. They're falling off the vine. I'll come out here every day and find some on the ground because the plants are just dead. There's some little baby ones on here that didn't turn red, but the plants are just done. The most productive plant in this GreenStalk, I will have to say, was my bush steak tomatoes. They were very full. They germinated very well. Lots of blooms, nice sized tomatoes. But pretty much all of the plants on here did really well. So no complaints from me at all. I mean, some of these are still completely green. I mean, they have very little, if any, damage on them, or disease, I should say. But again, it's October. They need to come out. So we will work on getting this one broken down here next. If I think about this tower, is there anything I would do differently this year? And the answer is yes. For my tomato tower, one of the things that I would do differently this year is plant more of that bush steak tomato from Burpees. It was the most productive, so I should have planted a few more of those plants. And I should have had more tomato towers. So next year, I believe I'm going to have 2 tomato towers and 2 sweet pepper towers. And other than that, I don't think I'll do anything different. I'm going to make sure I keep up my fertilizing regimen of every 10 to 14 days, because again, I think that was important. And then I did give all of my towers, especially like the tomato and the peppers, the ones that go all season long, about, I believe it was the 1st of August. So in my mind, that's like midway through the season. I gave them a top dressing of a granular fertilizer, and I went in and gave the soil just a little bit of aeration because the soil can get very compacted. So I just went in and massaged in that top dressing of the granular fertilizer. And after I did that, it's like it just took off like it was just being planted again. So I am going to do that again. Every 2 weeks at most, liquid fertilizer, mid-season, granular fertilizer. That's the plan. Let me get my little red tomatoes here. Of course, my little helpers will come and take care of all of the debris that I'm creating. And I had some very unique tomatoes as well. This was called a Rosella Purple, and it's got some stripes on it, some greens and some golds with the reds. They're really pretty. Some unique colors this year for me. The other thing on these tomato plants, most of these were dwarf tomato plants. So not micro dwarfs, just short plants, no taller than 3 to 4 feet tall. But some of them produced all season long. Well, my camera is starting to heat up on me, so I think I'll have to end the video right here. Tower number 10 is empty. We're done getting all of the plants out of there, and we will finish taking these towers down in another video. Here's my harvest that I wasn't necessarily trying to get today. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe, give me a thumbs up, turn on notifications, and come back and visit me real soon. So until next time, and hopefully there will be a next time, I'll see you later. Bye.